Just gonna pull some stuff up. All right, here we go. All right. Hello, YouTube. Scant the Wolf here, back with another video for your viewing pleasure. And first of all, Happy New Year. I know the New Year does not start here for another slightly above 4 hours. Um, like it's like seven something, 7:50 ish right now here. But yeah, it's going to be the New Year in roughly about 4 hours. So I just wanted to say that. Anyway, I decided to consolidate both of the year-end list of as far as albums is concerned. Um, albums are concerned. Sorry. Um, and put them all together. So in this video, we'll be talking about the 25 best albums and the 10 worst albums of this year, in my opinion, of course. So yeah, so in typical Scant the Wolf tradition, we will start with the worst because it's just what it is. It's just how it is. You got to get through the worst before the best, in my opinion. So we're gonna go through the top 10 worst. Um, and first off, we're gonna go through the. We're gonna mention the EP that made that list. It's Fear Union's EP, awful EP, Misconceptions. I know they're trying to pass it off as an album, but since it doesn't have the tracks of an album, like the amount of tracks that would make an album, it's an EP. So I'm considering it EP and the worst EP of this year. And it's just a terrible, horribly produced EP with asinine vocals and a horrible cover of A B C D E F U. A B C D E F U Fear Union for making this EP, I guess. Um, yeah, this is terrible. They've been terrible for a while, so screw 'em. Anyway, and we're just going to go through the honorable mentions here. Dishonorable mentions, actually. Islander, It's Not Easy Being Human, very just bloated record, not very well produced. Granted, better than Power Under Control, but a lot of things are better than Power Under Control. But this album's still a mess. I mean, like the guest appearances and all that stuff are just nothing. Like, and there's nothing really on Islander's album that like is even appealing to me. So, like, eh, yeah, just throw it aside. I think a lot of people have already. Um, Kid Rock, Bad Reputation. Absolutely. I did not put this on the year end list because we all know Kid Rock sucks. We all know this album sucks, so get that out of here. Um, yeah, it's garbage for all the reasons everybody said it's garbage for all that. And nobody cares. You're like 50 years old. Nobody cares. And nobody cares about how you try to like just force your political beliefs and stuff down people's throats and stuff with BS. So yeah, away with you. This is an awful album. Miss Me I, Curse of Existence. This is a one of many generic metalcore albums of this year. This is their first album in 5 years, and it's just kind of the typical As I Lay Dying esque like filler music that some bands in this scene like to do. It's just not interesting music. It's, it's just not interesting. Like so, yeah, just forget about it. And we get to two disappointments. For starting with Palisades, reaching hypercritical. That this album is a very nothing album, very formulaic, and it's a downgrade from their last album, which I did like. Erase the Pain. I did like that album because the hooks on it were good and the vocals were good. I know they have a new vocalist, but man, these vocals are not that good on this album. I hate to say it, the vocals, yeah, they're just no. Like maybe I've outgrown this kind of stuff, but yeah, this album is just a very weak album in my opinion. Reaching Hypercritical is a very weak album. It's just doesn't leave that much of an impression on me. And the other disappointment is Wolves at the Gate with the Yellow G's. This album is very generic. I felt like their past two albums were good, very good. In fact, I liked um, Types and Shadows. That's probably my favorite from them. Then Eclipse came, and even though there were some generic moments, some moments didn't work, it was still a good album. This album is not that good. There's only like a couple good songs on the album, and the rest of it is just so generic. And sometimes the vocals can be very like just very garbage. Like that's kind of what I base it on too. Like a lot of albums, like vocals and stuff. Like if the vocals are not like, I mean, like the singing vocals are like fine, but like the screaming vocals like are sometimes just eh. Like the high pitched stuff. Like you don't like high pitched screaming vocals as much. Um, so there you go. But also this music is just so like filler, so generic. Like you know, there's good Christian metalcore out there. This really is not it. This is more like Christian hard rock, and it would even not be that good in that genre. So, in Christian rock, this would be like the stuff that would be in the third party stuff that would be in like 2010 or something like that from that genre. So, you just forget about it. Whatever. So, it's not that good of an album. So, now we move on to the 10 albums that made the list, starting with number 10, Papa Roach, Ego Trip, easily their worst album, and people didn't like Who Do You Trust, and Fear, and a lot of other albums from Papa Roach, but this one is just a mess from, like, I put this at number 10 because there are a couple of good songs on this album. I'm not going to lie. There's songs like No Apologies, Kill the Noise. They're fine. Um, but the rest is just like very rough to get through, very disjointed. Like, if this is really the state that hard rock is going in, then I'm just not into what hard rock has to offer. I mean, you have stuff like the song like the Fever 333 guy. Yeah, I'm not really that big on Fever 333, but like, yeah, that's song's still not very good. Like Unglued, Bloodline, Liar, Dying to Believe, so many other tracks on this album. Very filler, very generically written, very disjointed, very messy. Like, yeah, this is just a very weak effort from Papa Roach. And this is somebody who never thought Papa Roach had the best material. They had Getting Away with Murder. They had Infest, which are decent new metal albums. Like new metal, Infest is more new metal than Getting Away with Murder. And I thought Crooked Teeth was actually pretty solid. But the rest of them range from mediocre to bad, and this one is the low end of the bad. It is their worst album, as I said. So I think we're just gonna move on to number 9. And shocker, we have here Hollywood Undead with Hotel California. Now, the reason this didn't make it into the top 5 this year was because it just sounds like a joke album, and it's kind of hilarious. It's kind of like a funny bad album, and I don't rate albums that are funny bad on the same pedestal as I do albums that are just anger inducing bad, because this is just like like at least they didn't like do the same thing they did last time, and I'm not a fan of Hollywood Undead whatsoever, but it's just like a bunch of hype up anthems. It's just a bunch of like tough boy, like edgy kid anthems and stuff on this album. Like how like I'm better than you, like and like Dangerous is the track that really is hilarious. I'm not, it is a very comedic track in my like with the line like if I'm a dick then you're a pussy. Very juvenile line, and yeah, it's a pretty silly line, and so is the line "fuck with me." That's a no. That's a very silly line. That's a very nobody talks like that. Nobody says that's a like serious like it's just like imagine if you saw a tough guy say "f with me." That's a no. Like ooh, that's a no. Ooh, like they don't even represent that side, that part of themselves as well on this album. It's kind of funny. I'm not gonna, but it's still like not music that's any good. Where it's when you like Trap God and stuff like that, Ruin My Life, Happy When I Die, all that stuff. Wild in These Streets, the title track. Is there a title track on this album? I don't even know. I don't even remember. I'm gonna look it up. I have no idea if there is a title track on this album. It must be. I know there's this City of the Dead. No, there's no title track on there. That's the thing. Also, I totally forgot a lot of this album, other than the more memorable stuff, which is of course going to be Trap God and Dangerous. So, yes, for this, I guess. So yeah, number nine's over with. Now we go to number 8, and this one hurts. This one does hurt because we have Skillet with Dominion here at number 8, and this has really nothing to do with John Cooper's like political stuff or anything like that, or religious stuff that he's been doing. It's the fact that like it's so dull. Even longtime Skillet fans would agree with me that this is a very dull album. It's nothing. Like even like stuff like Valley of Death, which is more like piano based. Like, am I really gonna be listening to this like 2 years from now? Like anything from Skillet's Dominion, am I like willingly gonna be listening to like 2 years from now? Like the stuff that I have on my playlist or whatever, like Refuge and stuff. Like I'm not gonna hear this stuff unless I'm in some at one of my relatives' house and they have Christian music on, and this just so happens to be playing. I had that experience with Anchor. I heard Anchor from Skillet last like a couple years ago, and that's I'm not gonna be like craving these songs, the good songs on this album, because there is a lot of junk on this album. Obviously, White Horse. That's one junky song on the album. Like, yeah, that's actually their worst song ever. Um, Standing in the Storm is very silly, very uh, Shout Your Freedom. Like, just those songs in general, like, they're very just, you just turn your head like this away from them because, like, who even cares? Like, Destroyer, like, stuff like that. Destiny, Beyond Incredible, title track. Even Surviving the Game. Like, I mean, like, I don't know how Skillet can improve from here because they're really just not gonna improve in any way because their best days are long ahead of, are like long gone from the Comatose and Collide era, and like somebody like me who remembers, who also knows that Skillet did not start out with Collide. Um, you could go back and listen to their like grunge, like industrial albums, and like the self-titled album and like Alien Youth and then like all that stuff. Even their worship album, even which I mean, their worship album, like admit it, sounds more genuine than the worshipy stuff on this. I mean, granted, they're better than like stuff like Lions and like Anchor and stuff like that, but they're I'm not going to be listening to them on my own. That's the point. So yeah, I like Skillet enough. Like I do have a soft spot for them, but they just had to be on here with Dominion. I hate to say it, it's not that good of an album. Like it's just like if you're a longtime fan, this is an album that's going to do it for you for about 4 or 5 weeks. Then you move on. Then you're going to listen to Skillet's past work because it's much better. Not Unleashed or Victorious or anything like that. Even if you like those albums, fine. You're not going to care about this one that much. That's very like just that's just what it is. So let's just move on to number 7. Let's move on to Dance Gavin Dance, Jackpot Juicer. Like I don't know why this band is successful. Like even though they've had a lot of controversy even this year, and it's sad that one of their members passed away. That's very sad. But it still doesn't excuse this album, in my opinion. It still does not merit being placed in the top 20 on the Billboard 200. Like, some reason, like albums that I love that came out this year did not peak anywhere in the Billboard 200, and then this band does, and they just wank around on their guitars and stuff, and call it like something artsy or whatever, and then just like scream nonsense for 14 or 15 tracks. And there you go. You have a Dance Gavin Dance album. Like, I mean, at least on their last album, they did try a little bit. Even though, like, some of the experiments didn't pan out. Actually, one experiment in particular didn't really pan out. They tried some Mexican, like I don't know what you call it, Latin thing or whatever. It sucked. But this album is just like nothing but suck. Like it's just like the entire album is just like nonsense lyrics, like immature lyrics, with like completely just like very like mediocre like playing and stuff. And I'm sorry, Talion Pearson is not a very good vocalist on this album. I hate to say, like he sounds like he just is shot. His voice is just shot. He's just like like I can make better vocals. When like I have laryngitis or when I have a freaking tonsil stone or something like that, or like when I have like a sore throat, than this guy can ever do. I mean, like, and I don't really think I'm that good of a vocalist, like, whatsoever. Like, I mean, this is really about the level that Dance Gavin Dance is, in my opinion. It's just, ugh. And all their album covers are the same, and like, it's just an album for the hardcore fans. That's it. Only an album for the hardcore Dance Gavin Dance fans. It's not going to do anything for anyone who's outside of that. Like, if you happen to get into Dance Gavin Dance, good for you. But if you already don't like this band, and I don't, there you go. You're not going to like this album. I definitely didn't like this album. This could be their worst. Number 6, we have a returning band here for our next album. They've been on lists before. They've made number 1 back when I wasn't doing this on YouTube. And the band is Five Finger Death Punch with Afterlife, and my phone just turned on automatically. Somebody wishing me Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you. But yeah, this album definitely was not a bright spot in the year. Now it's lower on the list because, once again, kind of like Hollywood Undead, like, it doesn't infuriate me as much, but it's just boring and it's just predictable. Like, we know that, this album is going to suck, and it did a good job with that. So thumbs up to that, but not thumbs up to any of these ridiculous songs which are nonsensical in the lyric department. And Ivan Moody is also nonsensical as well. And his vocals aren't very good. But the music is a little bit better than previous albums because the new members seem to be putting in their all and stuff. But like this is stuff that should be for other bands. They should be working with other bands and stuff, and they should just make Ivan Moody make a solo album with the Five Finger Death Punch name. That's pretty much it, because he doesn't really add anything to his music, and he's just a laughing stock, in my opinion. Like, and like Billboard is just gonna eat it up, and perfectly fine because active rock is a little bit irrelevant now. Because like we have so many ways to consume good rock music. It's not going to come from active rock when they keep like putting this band and stuff at as one of the big bands that they push. So yeah, and Gold Gutter really sucks. That song really really sucks. So yeah, that's pretty much it for Five Finger Death Punch. You pretty much know everything that I've said about Five Finger Death Punch, and yeah, they suck. Number 5, and you're going to be surprised that I put this over Five Finger Death Punch, but I have a reason for doing it, and it is Lamb of God, Omens. Now, some of you are probably just like in shock right now that this is at number 5, and it's not one of my favorite albums of the year, because it is not. Because Lamb of God is one of the most overrated bands in existence. In fact, it could be my number 1 most overrated band. Because they've not done anything in 20 plus years. Like even maybe less, okay, maybe since 2004 or 2006, that has really changed anything whatsoever. Like, everything is bad on this album. Like Omens, this was a very, very rough sit for me to go through. Like, it's just terrible. I mean, Randy Blythe's vocals are terrible on this album, and I think he's a good person, but his vocals are bad. Like on this, like his high pitched vocals are just like, ugh. Mark Morton is one of the most unadventurous guitarists to ever be in rock. He doesn't do anything different. He doesn't try to do anything different or actually appealing. He just does the same stuff he's done since freaking Ashes of the Wake. And the band just kind of just goes along with it. And it's all the same stuff about being against the world, being like this whole like thing. Like the lyrics are just the same as they've been for Lamb of God. It was like this with their last album, which also sucked. Admit it. It was like this with Resolution. It was like this, I think, with Wrath. It was kind of like that with Sturm und Drang, even though probably not pronouncing it right. But there was a song with Chino Moreno of Deftones, which is why like I'm kind of putting it a little bit above, because that song, his parts in it were at least good. This, nothing. Absolutely nothing is good. Like, like why this band is praised on me, man. It's just like at least the cover art's good, or something like that. Like at least the cover art is something to look at. It's something about this album is better, but not the music on it. Like it's so just unadventurous. Like just that's what gets me about a lot of stuff, is that they don't try to do anything new or anything. They just like stick with what they've done and just don't do anything else and don't do anything appealing with it. And that's Lamb of God with Omens in a nutshell. I don't want to say anything else about it because it would just make me angry. So let's move on to number 4. Let's move on to Upon a Burning Body with Fury. More metalcore that sucks. More All That Remains esque metalcore. And I say that because it's just like what it is. It just sounds like stuff from 2005. It sounds edgy. It just sounds like, bands like Killswitch Engage actually have lasted the test of time and stuff like that. Like stuff like this would have been at the bottom of the barrel. And I include their last album in this as well because that actually topped that year's list. They didn't top this year's list, but Fury is still kind of just a bad album. In fact, it is a bad album. Like like all the tracks, they try to go more melodic, but that doesn't really mean anything. It's still like maybe I just don't really care for like stuff like this, to be honest, because it's just like it's edgy. It's edgy with no purpose, with no emotion, with the most annoying kind of musician or kind of like personality, and it makes you want to like punch the person or something, because like Danny Leal is deathcore's Phil Labonte. Like he can't really sing, he can't really scream that well without infuriating me and making me wish I never played the track. But at least Phil Labonte was the part of. But at least All That Remains had like good music on their albums. They had musicians like Ollie Herbert and stuff like that. Like this band doesn't have any of that. Like it's just generic, like deathcore, just wanna be edgelord kind of music that just can up the ass. That's just what it is. There's no impact on the music. There's nothing, and it's just like if you steamroll this album and if it's available in physical copy, do it. And number 3, another album you should, in fact, steamroll, which is our bronze trophy winner for number 3, Mainstream Sellout with Machine Gun Kelly. I think everybody in the world has pretty much just thrown shit at this album, including me. I'm not probably adding anything new here to this discussion, but this is bad pop punk for someone who's not even into pop punk. This is bad pop punk. And I know that there is better pop punk that came out this year than this. This is not it. This is not worthy of being number 1 on the Billboard 200. This is not worthy of any praise or anything like that. Obviously, people put this at number 1 on their lists. It's not number 1 on mine, but it is low on this list because it's just a joke. And it's not even funny. At least with some albums I could laugh at it, I can't laugh at this. This is just a bad album. This is just like a detriment to rock and all that stuff. Like Machine Gun Kelly himself is a bad figure for rock music. And the song titles and stuff suck. And kind of terrible. And the guests don't do much. And Travis Barker once again doesn't do much because he just is the same kind of thing he's been doing. I don't know. I do find Blink-182 kind of overrated, but they're better than this for sure. They're way better than Mainstream Sellout, like Machine Gun Kelly. Just forget about it. Just what I said about Ivan Moody? They should have just let Machine Gun Kelly just make this album by himself, and it still would have been number 1 on the charts and stuff. So, forget about it. Let's just go to number 2 right now. Number 2 on the list. We have. I could put all the generic metalcore that's come out this year on this list. I could put all the stuff that I listened to for 2 seconds, knew exactly where it was going, and moved on with my life. on this list, but the one album that from this that like just infuriated me the most and like kind of just surprised me the most at how unenjoyable it was Secrets with the Collapse. Yeah. Yeah, this album is a very terrible, sickening detriment to metalcore. Um, every song on this album is bad. The vocals are awful. The production sucks. Like, if you listen to the production on this album, it is terrible. Like, it is awful. Like, it is uneven as hell. Like, it, it is just like the worst production I've heard so all this year. The vocals are mixed to absolute shit. Like, the screamed vocals are shit. They are mixed so bad on this album. That I think is probably what puts this in that realm of bad. It's because it sounds like something that is poorly mixed, like, and the vocals just are layered on top of already generic music that doesn't do much, and it's just spitting out edgy lyrics about stuff, and it's just like, and the writing on this album, Secrets, only two topics to write about: how everyone else sucks, and how everyone hates them, and how sad they are, and all that stuff. It's just not, and the dogs even don't like it. They're barking out there. If you didn't hear that, the dogs are trying to protect me from talking about this, but I have to do it. It's my duty. I've been holding this off for for days, like ever since I announced I was going to do this, and here I am. But yeah, Secrets. No, Secrets is a secret. This is our first album in 4 years, and it sucks. Like, think about that. You come back for 4 years, and then you come up with this, which is a miserable album that is produced like trash, and the vocals suck, and the lyrics suck. Every song sucks. There you go. That's Secrets in 2022 for you. They should probably just break up again in 2023. Just out. Done. Secrets? Yeah. The interview in, like, press release in 2023. Yeah, we knew our album, The Collapse, was really bad. What really sucked. We didn't have enough of a budget to get a good producer, blah, blah, blah. So, we just decided to just, like, give up because we don't have anything new to contribute to anything. That would be believable because that would be like the best thing for them to do. The best game plan that they would have going for them. But unfortunately, they probably have plans to make new music, and it's probably going to suck. I don't know where it would land on my list, but I know it would suck. And now, number one, gold trophy. That was a silver trophy. This is a gold trophy. So who does the gold trophy go to this year? What album? You probably know what it is. I Prevail with True Power. Yeah, number one. Give a round of applause. I Prevail has won our shitty trophy for this year. I don't even have a trophy. Water bottle? No. I'm not even going to do a trophy with this. It doesn't even... Because at least trophies need to be made out of, like, gold. Even though, like, Rotten Tomato. Give it a Rotten Tomato. Give it, like, a Razzie. An actual Razzie. There you go. Because this album, like, every one of the albums that I just talked about, every single one of them, had something about them that didn't infuriate me that much. Yeah, I'd say, oh, it's infuriating, blah, 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 but, like, it didn't, like, offend me and just cause me pain and make me, like, just didn't insult me like this album did. And I'm dead serious with this I Prevail album, True Power. Like, look, I thought I Prevail was bad, right? I thought Trauma was a bad album, right? That was back in 2019. 3 years later, they're coming out with an album. Maybe they've turned things around. Maybe I can finally understand why they're popular and all that. First single comes out. My hopes are gone. It sucked. Then the full album comes out and it sucks. And it is garbage. And no, I'm not even gonna do anything. This is awful. This is freaking awful music. Like I'm not even gonna try to fix it's terrible. Yeah, thumbs down, thumbs way down for this. For just yeah, they took everything that sucked about Trauma, everything that sucked, and made it worse. And made it like a million times worse. Made it a million times more insulting. Like everything. Like they have the lyrics, which are awful, which are absolute terrible horseshit. Cliche lyrics. They recycle them from their previous album and put them on this one. And it still sucks. And it sucks probably worse than what their Trauma. All the like the vocals are terrible. Like the production's too good for this. Like just everything about this album, like, just makes me want to just punch it. Find a physical copy of it. I've never seen a physical copy of it. I am thankful for that. If I ever do see a physical copy, I will restrain myself from beating the shit out of it, just like that. And you want to know why I had stress this year? It had nothing to do with any physical problems I had, anything like that. No, it's because I heard this album, and that's what's been causing my depression for the past, I don't know, since August 19th when this thing came out. August 18th was the day I heard it, because Spotify puts this out. Like this has been the root of everything. Like, that's ridiculous to say, but like, it's terrible. Like, okay, maybe that wasn't the real reason, but it still sucks. Like, you have songs like Fake and Choke. Long Live the King. I wish Scar would put this album, like, give this some of the Mufasa treatment. Just put it in front and throw to like a running, like, a bunch of wildebeests, like, running, like, in the wherever Africa, where, like, throw that. Just Long Live the King. Toss that thing and break it. And then Simba's not even going to go out and feel sad for it, because it's like, oh, that sucks. Forget about that. I just referenced The Lion King in a part of the video when I was talking about I Prevail. Whatever. Songs with abbreviations that suck. Have those. Songs that fool you in the first couple of seconds by thinking it's in one key, but it's actually in another key, and whiplash you. Yep. Have them. Songs that end without a third chorus. Got them. Totally got them. Like, man, the more I think about it, I Prevail is just a very broken band that doesn't want to fix them. They just, like, are very just, like, somebody just cracked their window and they refuse to fix it. Like, they just don't do good. Like, if you like this album, I will say, if you like any album that's on the worst list, that's okay. That's fine. You can like it. That's fine, even though I don't. Even though I hate it. Yeah, like I said, I in the text, and if you didn't know, I have this up on DVR as well. I hated this album. Like this is probably the worst album that I've heard this decade, or at least one of them, if not the worst. It's one of the worst. Like it is top three, top two level bad. So yeah, I Prevail. I could talk about I Prevail all day. I could talk about how bad this album is, True Power. Like, but I'm not gonna do that anymore because we're gonna go on halftime. And after that we're gonna do the top 25 best albums of the year. Um, I'm just gonna like draw something. This is the halftime. It's only gonna last maybe like I don't know 30 seconds because talking about that awful I Prevail album just really made me want to go to therapy. Um, yeah, like I'm just sitting here like. And don't worry, if you're on DeviantArt, I'm trying to get as much as I can done. I've been busy, sometimes getting sidetracked and stuff, but you know, things happen. So yeah, I don't know why the freaking pencil keeps breaking. The lead in the pencil keeps breaking, but I'm just trying to like relieve myself because I think if I prevail, I get pissed. So I'm just doing some stuff, finalizing a little bit things. Uh, and yeah, so I'll have some things to tell you guys before I actually get to the 25 best. If you're on DeviantArt, if you are watching this backlog, or if you're watching this on the stream right now, I know nobody is, but I'm just telling you this because this will probably get watched in the future. If you are on DeviantArt, don't expect me to just completely just like post every single day, like or most days anymore. Like I will try to take my time a little bit more with my art on DeviantArt. So like I don't want to rush myself this year. I just want to go at my own pace. Like and I know that I have an incredible pace and stuff like that. I if I'm working toward it, I get a lot done. But I just want to just don't expect me to just like have a lot of stuff on my plate for this upcoming year, which is coming up pretty soon in a few hours, 2023. And um, so yeah, if you're on DeviantArt, expect that. And I'll probably have another segment after this video is done, um, where I talk about like more about my goals and stuff like that for this year, like what I'm planning to do this year and how I'm planning to improve myself this year. So yeah, just keep that in mind. And now I think is a good time we can start the top 25 best albums. This is the one you've been waiting for. Put it in. 44 minutes exactly is the timestamp. If you're trying to figure out what time I'm going to start this, it's at the 44-minute mark. So, yeah. So anyway, let's begin. EPs are always first, so we can mention the EPs. I'm just going to go quickly over these 5 EPs that I have here. Crosses with their EP Permanent Radiant, very good. Chino Moreno's electronic side project, that was great. Favorite track, Vivian. Um, yeah, definitely check it out. Love is Noise is next with their EP Euphoria. Where are you? If it's a combination of alt metal, new metal, shoegazing, black metal, kind of black. They have blast beats and stuff, but like It's just a whole like amalgamation of like genres and stuff. I think it's pretty good. So yeah, Wonderland, favorite track. And that Profiler, again another new band, more straightforward new metal, and it's very good new metal stuff, in my opinion. So like definitely check that out. My favorite track from that is Hypocrite. That's a great song. Like the groove and stuff. I hope they come out with an actual album. That would be nice. Uh, Next up, Spirit Box, Rotoscope. Their 3-track EP, which I don't know if that's going to be connected to an album, but all of the tracks are pretty good. Definitely some good stuff on this EP. Um, yeah, I hope they continue it more with like their career in the future. I hope they continue like making good music and stuff. Like that would be nice. My favorite track on this is "Sew Me Up," like which doesn't seem to be like a more popular choice. I see a lot of people going for like Rotoscope or Hysteria out of the 3 tracks. But I'm going for "Sew Me Up" because I love the groove on that one, the new metal, like yeah, it's so good. And Us in Motion is next with Death Poems, another lesser known band, kind of like Love Is Noise and Profiler. And they also need to get signed by Sharp Tone or some other label because I think they're good post hardcore music, like very reminiscent of Holding Absence. If they were heavier, very good. Um, yeah, favorite track, Let the Dead Bury the Dead. That was last released last year. That song, but it's on this EP, so it counts as a 2022 release. That is a good thing. So yeah, let's move on to the honorable mentions for this year. We have Boundaries with Bearing Brightness, good metalcore, favorite track, title track. I just put the title track. I haven't listened to this album that much, but I like what I heard, so honorable mention to that. Butterfly Effect with 4, very good album from this band. Um, Not one of their best albums in my opinion. Um, I don't know which one would be their best. I think their EP from 2001 is pretty good. That's just an EP. The album from 2009 would probably be my favorite. Final Conversation of Kings is the title of that. But this album is still pretty good. Favorite track, Unbroken, that was released 3 years ago. But like I said, it's here on this album. Like this is another album I haven't really listened to as much, but I liked what I heard. So definitely recommend that from the Butterfly Effect. Cold Night for Alligators is next with the Hindsight Notes. These are a lot of lesser known bands. Like, and I think that's kind of what I tried to go for. Some of this, like Cold Night for Alligators, is a progressive metal slash gent kind of band, and they really have a unique sound to them. Again, I haven't listened to this one as much, but I did enjoy it. It is pretty good. And the best track on this, Dusty Patterns. That's the song I vividly remember from this album. So yeah, nice. Destroy Rebuild Until God Shows. Remember this band? This album here, Destroy Rebuild, pretty good return. Um, for the group, very good production. Like this is kind of like Cove Reaper era Seosin, in my opinion. And I like that era Seosin a lot. Um, yeah, it's a very good album. Favorite track on here, Salads of Motion. That's a very good song. Definitely go check that out. And he is Legend with Endless Hallway. This is a very like punch you in the face kind of southern metalcore like band music thing, whatever. Yeah, it's a very good album, I think. And like I haven't really checked out a lot of his Legend stuff. I do like the song Sand, and there's a couple other songs I like from them, but I haven't really looked into their discography like much. And like these albums, like what I've heard, been pretty good so far. And Endless Hallway is one of those good albums. So yeah, um, yeah, track on here, Prowler. So and I know I have other good albums listed, at least on the DeviantArt page. You can go see what those albums are if you go to DeviantArt. I will probably be posting links to see everything at the end. So, or whatever. So you can go check those out if you want. So we're gonna move on to the list proper. Top 25 best albums of the year. Starting at number 25, Astronoid, Radiant Blue. This album is very good, in my opinion. Granted, it kind of aged down a little bit, but I still think it's a pretty good album. Very unique album too. Very atmospheric. They go for a lot of different sounds here, like a little bit of post hardcore, a little bit of like black metal styled stuff. Like not too much on the black metal, like which um I'm not into black metal, but this I tried to have an open mind on some black metal stuff that wasn't all evil or whatever. Um yeah, this is pretty good. Like I know this isn't like legit black metal, but it's all like I don't know what genre. It's progressive. I'm just gonna say it's progressive. So yeah, Radiant Bloom, very good album. Um, favorite track, Sleep Whisper, and I'm going to be saying what my favorite track is on each album. So yeah, that's it for that. Number 24, Red Hot Chili Peppers with Unlimited Love, very good reunion album for John Frusciante, however you pronounce his name. Sorry if I'm butchering it, but yeah, this is a pretty good return to form. Like, and out of the two albums they released this year, this is the best, in my opinion. Like, because like I think that's logical. The first album that would be released in two album cycle like that would be the best, and it makes sense for that. Unlimited Love is a very good album, kind of bloated but still very good, and like that one a lot. Like has that Red Hot Chili Peppers sound to the T. Very good. Next up, number 23, we have Fire from the Gods with Soul Revolution. It isn't as good as their previous two albums, which even American Sun, which isn't really hasn't really aged as well since I heard it. I loved it when it came out, but like it's now I'm like it's good. This is the same experience. It's good. I like it. It's not like amazing, but it's good. I like some of the heavier moments on here. Um, very like unique band, like a more new metal influenced Seven Dust kind of sort of. If you like that, you'll probably like Fire from the Gods. So yeah, favorite track is Be Free. And that's a very melodic track on here. So yeah. And we move to number 22. We have White Ward with False Light. This is a more black metal kind of thing. Like, but it's not like in the black metal like that's like or like I'm very selective about black metal. Okay, so like don't hate on me for that. But like this is very good. Like this is out of the stuff I've heard. I This is very good. I think this is a very unique project, in my opinion. Like there's some horns and stuff that are very good. Like atmosphere is good. Like the musicianship is good, heavy. Like that's all I can say about it. It's very good. So yeah, favorite track, title track actually, False Light, pretty good song. And number 21, to whom it may, with Olympian Gossip. This is another unknown band. They should really be unknown. I think their music is pretty good. Granted, I like the Great Filter better than this one, but this one is still a very good album. This is like a good like alt metal kind of thing here. Like if you like alt metal, new metal stuff, like if you want like a heavier black mat, maybe definitely go check that out. You might see black mat later on the list. Who knows? But recommended track from that one. My favorite track would be Swan Dive. Definitely go check that out before we go to or anytime. But like now we're gonna go to number 20, which is Under Oath with their album Voyeurist. Very good album. Very good. One of the first albums that was released in this year, 2022. If you're probably watching this anytime after 2022, which is like, I don't know, probably about 3 hours from now, we've been streaming for like 54 minutes, 55 minutes, and whatever. But yeah, This is a very good album from Under Oath. Probably on par with Erase Me, and it might be even a little bit better because I kind of like the atmosphere of some of these songs. They're very good. Definitely good for them. Um, Favorite track is "We're All Gonna Die." I think that one's pretty good. Like, yeah, yeah, it just has a lot of like punch and stuff. It's very good. Definitely recommended. Number 19, Cult of Luna, The Long Road North. Very good um, stuff. Actually, part of my first exposure to doom metal. Like this is more of a doom metal thing. Like, and I think this is very good stuff. Very atmospheric, very awesome. Like very entrancing album to listen to. And actually, yeah, this is a pretty good album. I don't really have much. I'm kind of going quickly with these like first 15 albums that I have. I'm just saving the talk stuff from 10 to 1. So that's what I'm doing. So yeah, Cult of Luna, definitely good. Favorite track, Offering to the Wild. Very good. Number 18, Slipknot, The End So Far. Kind of a downgrade from We Are Not Your Kind, but still pretty good. Everybody knows what Slipknot sounds like. So yeah, last is one, I guess, like very unique, but it isn't really one of their best. It's towards the bottom, but it's still pretty good. I don't think Slipknot's really ever made a bad album, and this is one of them. So yeah, my favorite track. I had a hard time with this one, but overall, I would probably say, well, "Medicine for the Dead" is what's listed, so I'll go with that. Um, yeah, 17. We're at number 17 now. Counterparts, a eulogy for those still here. On the worst of lists, I talk about a lot of metalcore that was really bad. This is not one of those albums. I think this is a very good metalcore album. Very talented um, stuff. Yeah, I've always liked what I've heard. This is really the first year I've really given Counter Shots a bigger shot than I have. Like I've always heard great things about Counterparts. I guess it took this long to like really get into them. But yeah, Counterparts. This album is very good. I think like very like energized metalcore. Like and it reminds me of a better time for metalcore. Like this stuff is very good. My favorite track in here would be "Sworn to Silence." That's a great song. And yeah, this is a very good album, so definitely check it out. And we move on to number 16, Black Map, Melodoria. Um, I said I would be mentioning Black Map earlier in this list, and I was not wrong because it's at number 16, and it's a very good album. Not as good as In Droves. A lot of these albums aren't as good as their predecessor, but you know, yeah, In Droves. I mean, not In Droves. Melodoria is a very good album. I mean, it's not. I think like I don't know why this isn't nearly as good as Melodoria because it is more experimental. It is more like atmospheric, melodic. Like intros is heavier. I don't know. It just probably depends on the band, I guess. If they do it better or not, if they do one side better, I guess that I like their harder stuff better. But this is still very good. Chasms. I wasn't going to mention other tracks, but like I said, Chasms was a good song. So whatever. So yeah, you should definitely check this out. This is a super group with members of Dredge, Far, Trophy Fire. If you like any of those bands, check this out. Favorite track on this album, Melodoria, the title track. Very good song. Now we move into the top 15 with coming in with Architects, the classic Symptoms of a Broken Spirit. Another one that pales in comparison to some of their other work. I think Holy Hell is a better album. I think Hollow Corona is a better album, and All Our Gods Have Abandoned Us. But this is still a pretty good album. Like as far as like them pivoting into like active rock kind of stuff, like mainstream rock. This is a good take on that kind of style. Very good. Occasionally it stumbles a bit, but I do think that overall this is a good album, even though I wish Architects would work a little bit more on some stuff. Like this is very good. Like this is very good in terms of like active rock and stuff. My favorite track on this album is Tear Gas. That's a great song. Number 14, we move on to Devil Wears Prada, Color Decay. Very good album. One of their best albums in years. Like, because I think they focused a little more. Because if you remember, The Act wasn't their best album, in my opinion. I don't think a lot of people like The Act very much. Like, probably the first 4 or 5 weeks it was out, or whatever. Like, and then it kind of just like aged down for a lot of people. But this didn't really do that. Really, Color Decay is a good album in my opinion. It's very experimental, kind of like what the Devil Wears Prada does. I think they are one of the better bands in metalcore for that. They try new things. They do different stuff. They seek different waters, and that's what they do here. So, yeah, Devil Wears Prada, good job. Keep on doing what you do. Favorite track is Sacrifice on this album. And we go to number 13, Dayseeker with Dark Sun. This is a very good album right here. Progressed. They were once metalcore, but now this is more like pop rock, and it kind of like I don't know, like yeah, I would say pop rock is kind of a good like category for it. I said no people said synth pop, but I don't hear. I do hear like the electronic elements and stuff, but I don't consider this that. This is more pop rock, but it's very good pop rock. I think, like I think the rhythms work for me better here. Dream State is close. Like if you want an example, like Dream State, which favorite track is Dream State on this album. By the way, like Dream State is probably the heaviest, but there's other stuff that isn't nearly as heavy on this album, and it works really well. Like more like softer stuff with an acoustic guitar. It works. I think this is better than Sleep Talk. I think this is like definitely better than Sleep Talk because I thought Sleep Talk was good. All that like there's tracks on there that were pretty good in my opinion, but this is like a better album than that. And yeah, I hope they get better than this after this album. So Dark Sun definitely gets my approval for that. And we get to 12, number 12, Tala, A Generation of Danger, easily one of the heaviest albums I've heard this year. Um, like one of the most crazy albums this year, and you know, new metal's gonna make its comeback, and they do it so well on this album. I think there is a couple of moments where I'm like that are a bit overwhelming, which is why I don't like love everything I've heard from Tell. Like I don't like from this band. Like I don't like jump in and out of my seat for this band's music, but it's good. It is very unique music, and Justin Bonnet's lead singer, very very crazy, very insane. He could do a lot of stuff with his voice. I will tell you that much. Example, favorite track, Shaken Not Stirred. And the Hard Resets good song too. That's beside the point. So yeah, Talent, Generation Danger, definitely recommended. And finally, number 11, Pride Lands with Light Bends. This is one of Sharp Tone's bands and one of the best albums of the year, number 11. And I think this is a very unique metalcore act. Metalcore mixed with alt metal. Very good. Like I think that they're on a similar route that a lot of unique bands have done. This album could be like one thing, but like their next album could be a lot better than this. Like there's a lot of potential on the plate for this band. Like them and like other bands that have been signed by Sharp Tones. You know how Holding Absence, like their first album was like good, and then they came with their most recent album, Greatest Mistake of My Life, actually topped the list last year. So who knows? Maybe Pride Lands could get even better with their next material. So yeah, Pride Lands, great stuff. Favorite track, closing track, The Sun Will Find Us. Very underrated song. Definitely give it a listen. I love it. All right, so we are in the top 10 here for this list, and we are an hour and 5 minutes into this. So number 10, Demon Hunter with Exile. Proof that Christian rock and Christian metal can be good, and Demon Hunter surprisingly made a very good album this year. Like after all the videos I made about them delaying Exile and all this, delaying this album, and doing all the stuff that they've been doing, and top that off with like their past three albums not being very good, and this seemed like it would be unlikely. Like at least for me, I didn't think Exile would be that good, this good. I thought it would be top 25. I thought I'd be talking about this in the top 25, not number 10. And this is at number 10. And they did a good job on this album. This is their best album since, True Defiance, Extremist, one of those two albums. This could be one of their best albums, in my opinion. Not their best, but one of their best. This could be in that realm, because I do think this is a very good album. They try new things on this album, which I didn't think Demon Hunter was capable of, um, and doing well. Um, they have some guest features that are pretty good, and yeah, uh, favorite track, Devotion, because like if you want to like something that sounds like old Demon Hunter, that would be a good track. But there's so many other good tracks on it too, like Godless, Freedom is Dead, Revolutions. Yeah, those songs that I just mentioned, very good. And yeah, Demon Hunter. I hope we get more music from Demon Hunter that's like this in the future. So yeah, there we go. Yeah, my number 9 pick is Nothing More with Spirits. Um, Again, not as good as their previous, like a lot of bands on this list, not as good as their previous album, and that's a hard thing to do. It's not. It wasn't gonna be as good as the stories we tell ourselves. That album was great. Like that album is one of the best modern rock albums ever. Like at least in this decade. Like from a band. Like there's no way in my mind that Spirits was gonna top the stories we tell ourselves. But on its own merits, I think Spirits is a very good album. It's a darker album. It has a lot of good groove and stuff on some tracks. It has a lot of range of emotion. Johnny Hawkins is a great vocalist. The band is going at it, and it's going to get better from here. I hope it gets better. I hope we don't have to wait 5 years again for another Nothing More album. Like, I hope I can be here in 2025 and be talking about the next Nothing More album, either on a list or either when I'm doing a music talk on Nothing More. So yeah, favorite track, Tired of Winning. Um, Here's another great song would be Dream With Me. So yeah, there we go. Like that's kind of a sampling of songs that would be very good for you to check out from this album. Then we move on to number 8. We move on to was one of my favorite bands here, Meshuggah, with the album Immutable. Yeah, this is a very good album. Like it's hard to rank Meshuggah's albums because a lot of them are so good. If you want, yeah, a lot of them are very good albums. Like if you want like a band that does the same thing like practically every album, but does it really, really well, Meshuggah is the band to look for. Not Lamb of God. or not any band, other band that does this, but Meshuggah, because they do it so well. Like I think it's because they're more interesting to me. Like the they do things that are more interesting on their albums. Even though this is a long album, it's like has a 9 minute track on it and it's like very long. They do a lot to like of what um there is a lot on Immutable that's like very like characteristic of what Metallic would do. Yeah, it's very characteristic of Metallic. This Sugar, which is like a jet-ish progressive metal kind of thing, extreme metal probably, and like yeah, again, it isn't their best work, but like this is very good. This is like 9 out of 10 material for me. Like like this is on par with their last album, Violent Super Reason. That came out in 2016, and it was very good too. This is a very good album. Like in addition to that, so as for the recommended track, Broken Cog, that's my recommended track because it's a great song. I like the ambience in that track, and the riff is good in it too. Lots of talking in this video. 7 more albums to go, and I'll shut my mouth. So number 7, Rolo Tomasi, Where Myth Becomes Melody or Memory. Is it Memory or Melody? I have this CD, so let me look real quick. Memory, Where Myth Becomes Memory. I have it as Melody on here. Where Myth Becomes Memory. Yeah, this is a very good album. Like this is one of the first albums that I heard in 2022, and it's very good. So yeah, if you like metalcore that's very unique and stuff like that, then that's kind of borderline mathcore, which is what they were before. Now they're just straight metalcore, but like this is my first exposure to the band, and they did a very good job on this album. Like February release, and it still holds up very well. Um, hit the GI. Um, yeah, there's a full. Yeah, there's a lot of melody in this album. There's a lot of heaviness, and it's amazing how a band can like dabble in both sides. Like it's a very good feat that this band has accomplished, and you know, yeah, very good stuff. Favorite track, Prescience, if that's how you pronounce it. And another good song would be Cloak. That's a great song. So yeah, we go on to the 6th album on our list, which is Fallujah with Empyrean. If you don't know me, I'm not like huge into death metal, but maybe I should be because like the last few years have given us some great death metal, technical death metal, like and stuff like Obscura from last year, Fallujah this year with Empyrean, and I like this album a lot. Very technical, like in what it does. Like the riff work is fantastic on this album. I think like easily some of the best instrument work I've heard this year. Like very fast, very addicting like stuff. Like and they've gone through vocal change. And if you don't know, they had a different vocalist in 2019. That one left, and now they have a different vocalist, which sounds more like what Fallujah sounded like in the mid 2010s. That vocalist, like I don't really know the names of the vocalists, but they have done a good job, I think. Like, and this one does a good job on this album, and the main thing is the instruments. I think they're good. But they're very good. Like the instruments have a lot of stuff. Like there's a lot of movement going on this album. There's a lot of like one part like this heavy like is going on like while this high like guitar soloing and stuff is going on. It's just very unique sounding, very good. Like, and like it has substance. I think Fallujah's album has substance, unlike a lot of death metal albums, which is just the same thing over and over. This is one of those bands that doesn't do that for me, and it's very good. Fallujah with Empyrean, my favorite track from is Mindless Omnipotent Master. That's the title. And so, yeah, definitely check this album out. I think. Now we move into the top five, starting with Mood Ring and Stargazers. And this is probably one of the best rock albums of the year, one of the best debut albums of the year. And if you know, um, actually, I think it is the best debut album of the year because oh, yeah, it's the best debut album of the year. Yeah, this is a good like rock, like new metal, like alternative metal kind of thing. This is a long lost album from 2002, released in 2022, and it is one of the better ones of that genre. The only thing that I don't like about this is that there's no physical copy that can be bought on Amazon. That's the only bad thing about this album. The rest of it, great. Definitely great. They did a fantastic job on this album. Like there's so many stuff. There's melodic stuff. There's heavy stuff, like heavy rock. Like and it's so like the vocals and everything mix so well together. The production value on this album is great. Like it's good. So I've yawned so freaking much in these videos. Yeah, favorite track. My favorite track on this is Red Light Gossip. But honestly, the whole album is pretty good. Um, I hope there's more from this band after this. I hope Mood Ring has more music for us in store after this album because this album is great. Definitely recommend it. Definitely give a shout out to Mood Ring anywhere. If you see this video, give them a shout out because they deserve like attention. And coming in at number 4 with Burials, Scars for You to Remember, another very good album. Deserves a round of applause. And this is a heavy album, like not in the same way as Fallujah's or other albums, but it's a heavy metalcore album and it sounds great. Like they have a lot of good stuff on this album, ranging from heaviness to like the vocals are like very aggressive and in your face, and the music is too. Like the music on this is great. Like that great like guitar. Like it's not like technical and it doesn't have to be, and it just hits you so hard. Like this album and their previous album both are fantastic albums. Like it's like it works so well, and apparently there was a singer change that doesn't really affect anything on this album because it's good. The singer that's now on this band is just as good as the previous singer. There's no worries about that whatsoever. They didn't just change into like a I don't know. They didn't change vocalist, and now the vocalist is just like a really whiny, like just screecher or whatever, or something else like that. The vocalist is great on this, I think, and there's other stuff that they do that's very unique. And yeah, this is a very good album, I think. What I have in my favorite song from this album, Ritual Division, also subtitled House. But yeah, the entire album I think it's pretty good as well. So another one where the favorite album is like ever. Now we get into the top 3 on the list. The top 3 albums of the year. Number 3 would not be a surprise to anybody who watches my channel because I'm a huge fan of this band. Number 3, Northlane with Obsidian. Of course, this guy's going to talk about Northlane again because Northlane is one of his favorite bands. So I mean, like, just comes, of course, right? Yeah. Well, yeah, Northlane just made a really good album this year, just like they do all the time. Like, not all the time. Like, as far as their 6 albums go, like not really like the pre Marcus Bridge era. Singularity is pretty solid. Um, and their first album was good, Discoveries, but like I'm mainly focusing on the Marcus Bridge stuff. And while this isn't the best of this era of their this is still fantastic stuff. Like I think this is like the reason I defend Northlane so much is because they are so unique in this genre. They started with Alien doing this industrial kind of thing, and it just comes to show a lot. It's different on this album, but it's still good. They are trying to do something new and interesting and well written. I mean, look at Zen. Like the lyrics on that, it doesn't have to be poetry. That doesn't mean that it can't speak. That's a very well written line on that song. And it speaks volumes about a lot of stuff. And yeah, I think the rest of the album is very good on this. Like, just like favorite track is not Echo Chamber, Carbonized. But yeah, the whole album I think is there is some weaker stuff on it. I'm not as crazy about Abomination. I will say that. And there's a couple songs I'm like, but like this album, like where this album succeeds, it really, really succeeds. And they are just so good at creating a groove, and it just hits so well, I think. And Northlane, yeah, they do a really, really good job with this album. Like, I think Obsidian's great. I think between this one and Alien and Mesmer, three of the best metalcore albums of the past 10 years. Three of the best. And yeah, definitely. And Marcus Bridges is great. That doesn't need any explanation whatsoever. They deserve to be the biggest band, one of the biggest metalcore bands out there. So definitely make that happen. Don't ruin it. Yeah, but silver medal, Northlane gets bronze, but silver, new band, Ithaca, They Fear Us. This album came out of nowhere for me. Like, I had seen it talked about before, but I was looking for new music and I heard this stuff and I was just like, wow, this is really good. And like later on, I just love this album. I just love hearing this album. Like it is just like it was great. It is probably the one of the best newer bands that I've found out about this year. Um, yeah, because I think it really is. It's just great. Um, you know, they're more. If I were to compare them to a band, it would be like a more metalcore based Rollo Tomasi, a heavier Rollo Tomasi. The band I talked about, number 7. Number 2. This is this. This is at number 2. We have this. So it's a very good album. Like it, just like it. Like all the bad metalcore that's come out, and I think about stuff from Ithaca, and I'm like, there's so much good in metalcore. Like there are bands making good music in metalcore, and this is one of them. This is definitely a fantastic metalcore release. The riffs are so good on this album, all of them. Like, at least on the tracks that I like, which is pretty much the first 7 tracks. The last 2 tracks are just okay, but the first 7 are fantastic. Some of the best metalcore that I've heard this year. In fact, in terms of metalcore, probably the best that I've actually heard this year. So there's a compliment. Like I would say my favorite track is Cremation Party, which is a track that gets a lot as much like notability as other songs like They Fear Us or the title track or something. Yeah, They Fear Us is the title track. Or the future says thank you, which is the song I first heard from the band. It was like, wow, this is amazing. Yeah, this band definitely get a chance. Give this band and Mood Ring a chance because both bands I think are fantastic. They made some of the best music this year and pretty much any year. And I have a feeling I think it will be on my best of list of the decade as well. But not as high as this next one is, which is our last album we're going to be talking about. Number one, getting the gold trophy here. And I wish I had a big, big, big trophy for this. Because number one, you probably know what it is, Thornhill with the album Heroin. Yeah. Yeah, this is probably the best album of the decade, in my opinion. And it is a very difficult decision to make because last year's number one is close, but overall, I think this one, Thornhill's album, Heroin, this is gonna be with me for the rest of my life. I think this is gonna be an album that I'm going to listen to so much in the coming years, and it's gonna rank. And this is like, I made the comparison. If the Dark Pool was the band's Around the Fur, this is their White Pony, and I stand by that. I wrote that on the DeviantArt thing, and I really do stand by that. I think this album is phenomenal. Like everything about it. I could say favorite track. It's Hollywood, but I would say the whole album, every song, is good. Even the weaker stuff on this album is good because like they take a style like Deftones' style, and they don't just make it like just a tribute to the Deftones or whatever. They do it like well. Like they have a lot of like nuance to their stuff. There's a lot of cinematic quality to it. There is a lot of like the writing on this album is so good. The performances, I mean, my goodness. I mean, like you have Carlton, Jacob Carlton, lead vocalist of the band, who is fantastic on every track. Um, and it's just like great. Like this album, like I this is why I am passionate about this genre of music, these genres of music. You know, it's great. It's fresh. It's new. It's interesting. It's just in encapsulates everything good about what I love about it. It is a beautiful album. It is a just beautiful art piece of art of an album. I think it is a just yeah. Just take my word for it. It is great. Like everything from the slower stuff to the heavier stuff. Like every inch of this album is like full of quality and good writing, good vocals, and good musicianship, and good everything. And it all fits together as an album, which is important. And yeah, this is a masterpiece. It's a masterpiece. It's a great album. Definitely one of the best of this. Actually, it is the best of the year, and one you should definitely seek out. After this, go seek it out. Go listen to it on Spotify or go on Amazon, buy a copy, or if you want to, if you have a record store that sells it, go to that record store, pick it up. If you have the money, go. Because I think this album is great. People will try to tell you that like what their number one is, but I will tell you go get Thornhill's album, the album from this year, any format you want, and you'll have a good time. I don't care if I don't even care if it's like on iTunes. If that's even still around. I don't know. Um, Even if it's just on Spotify, just go hear it. Just go listen to it. Like support this music. This music is so good. Like, and this band is going to have a future, I think, because they did such a fantastic job with this album. It's great. I just keep repeating myself over and over and over and over and over again. But you know what? This is great. So yeah, it has inspired me more than any other album this year. That's why it's number one. It's an inspiring piece of work. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this hour and 30 minutes. I've been here talking to you guys. I said I was going to. I might have, like, might talk about some goals that I have for this year. I might actually make another video pretty soon about my goals or something. But keep in mind if that doesn't happen, um, just I'm not like just like I said on about the DeviantArt stuff. I'm not like gonna rush every single thing that I do. I'm gonna do everything on my own time. Like I don't want to be like always every single day in front of a camera or like because I have other commitments. I have the media lab now, and that's been going splendidly. I'm excited to get back there. January 2nd is the day we get back, and that's going to be a great day. So yeah, and yeah, just keep that in mind for all of my social media. Like I'm not going to be rushing to do anything because that's just I just need to focus a lot on my mental health as well. Just like any year, I've been doing that. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So let me know in the comments what you think of your favorite albums and least favorite albums of the year. What you're looking forward to this year. Anything that you have to say in the comment section, just type it out. So yeah, this is Skip the Wolf signing out. Take care. Happy New Year.